This episode of CelloChat is brought to you by Carriage House Violins of Johnson String Instrument. Please visit us at www.carriagehouseviolins.com.
Okay, and you are live.
Hello, hello.
Hello, yes, if you can turn on your video, that would be great.
I'm trying. My thing is not my camera is not cooperating with me right now for some reason. Oh, hello. Hi everybody. I'm delighted to join Cello Bello today. Thank you, William, for hosting and for Paul Katz for having us. This is my husband, Thomas Brenner. The reason Tom is here with us is because I call him my business brains, and he's been my business partner for the last 20 years since we got married, and he's been extremely helpful with everything to do with the business of music. So I thought to bring him here because we're basically talking about music today mostly. So the title, How I Got 10 Million Spotify Streams. Spoiler alert, there was no one magic pill that will get anybody 10 million Spotify streams. So we broke down this talk. There's 11 talking points that I wanted to start with, and then I'll take your questions. Number one point is to do with my husband, Tom. It's basically saying that if you don't have a natural knack for business, find somebody who will and who can help you. It can be a husband, boyfriend, an aunt, mom, friend, and preferably somebody who's not a conservatory student like yourself or a musician like yourself, because it's very important to get an outside view, somebody who understands sort of from outside how it is to be an audience member who might listen to you, become your fan, and what attracts a regular person out there to our very niche program, right?
Yeah, agreed. And that also has a perspective for how things operate in organizations. An orchestra is an organization, a presenter is an organization. So while music is certainly a niche area, as Inbal said, there are certain aspects of it, of running things that are universal across all types of activities.
So the second point is that we have to specialized, think broadly than specialized. So each of us, when we're young, we study everything. We study Dvorak and Bach and Brahms, and we work our way through the core repertoire. But at a certain age, and even when we're just in our 20s, usually we feel a knack for a certain type of repertoire. Some of us gravitate towards new music, some really love the classics, and some like crossover. In other words, sort of know yourself. And do you like to play in an orchestra? Do you prefer to do your own thing? Do you like improvising? This is stuff that I have individually struggled with, and not just struggled. I went through periods of my life where I sought to see where I fit and what's the best fit for me is. Right now, I love doing a lot of different things, but I focus more on playing concertos with commissioning new works and writing my own music and recording. So, and about recording, I will come to this soon. The third point is how to sell ourselves, which is really what I don't enjoy about our business at all. But we are business owners. To think of us as,
Entrepreneurs.
right? Maybe I'll let you speak about the third point.
Sure. I think that the idea that we wanted to add, I'm sure everyone gets a lot of advice how to sell themselves, but you want to do it smartly, and part of that, or perhaps the most important part of that, is being prepared. So you want to understand the orchestra or the presenter that you're pitching to. Are they conservative in their programming? Do they like new music? Do they like things that have a match or a fit with some of these emerging themes in your own performance and your own strengths that are coming out?
Yeah.
And I think that's understanding. The more you understand about the person or people that you're pitching, the more that they're going to appreciate it, and it's going to be more of an engaged conversation, and don't expect them to have all the answers.
That's true too. Some presenters are very opinionated and they really know what they're looking for. Others are looking for you to lead them to what you think is the right program, or how to position yourself. So you'll have to be prepared to kind of feel that out. By doing your research, looking, for example, we look at website. If I really want to play in a certain concert series or with a certain person, we usually do a little research. We look at the website, look at that person, what they like to do usually, what kind of recordings they have out. We learn about the person to understand where they're coming from.
And some things, as we noted, can even be as simple as, does the venue have a piano? If you pitch a piano trio when they don't have a piano, then people are always looking for excuses to sort of turn off and get disengaged. And if you instead pitch a string quartet, a trio, something that fits with their venue, you're going to keep them engaged. The same thing goes for orchestras. Some orchestras some will be full orchestras, some will be chamber orchestras, some will be really even more like ensembles, and obviously different things fit for them.
Right. So the fourth point is put yourself out there. And I think that's the most fun point. I assume most of our viewers are savvy with social media, just find what you're good at, what you can contribute to this cesspool that can be very educational, and see if you can build a following and see what talks to people. I think people really love things that are authentic. So find your voice, what you're good at, what you like, and most importantly, maybe what you like to share.
And what I would add to that is that perfectionism, I think, is the double-edged sword of for string players. Obviously, unless you're precise, technical, and strive for perfection, you're not going to achieve the level that you want to get. But on the other hand, it can be a negative when it comes to the business, or the if you will, the show business part of it. So one of the things that I encouraged Inbal to do early on was to get things on, or to put things on her YouTube channel or so on, even if they weren't perfect. And that was certainly a spirited debate for some time. But the reality is that waiting for that perfect performance to get yourself out there
might take a long time.
It might take a long time, and I think audiences are generally much more forgiving than the players give them credit for. And then, of course, as you build a library, you're going to have a beautiful library of performances, and some are going to be amazing, some are going to be fine, and people get to see the breadth of your work and your personality.
Yeah, that's really a great point. I was very hesitant when I put out my first musings. I thought they were cringe, and somehow they caught. So somehow you guys were amazingly receptive to learning that way with 10-minute bite-size lessons. And I know I was very self-conscious at first when I filmed, and now that I look back at the first lessons, I was like, oh my God. But I didn't take them off because I think they still serve a purpose, and I think people can still learn from them. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, one of the points under this heading, put yourself out there, is don't wait for some competitions to do it. I did a lot of competitions when I was in college and before. Some I won, some I didn't even progress to the semis. And, you know, if it's not going to break you, it's going to make you stronger. You learn, you know, if you enjoy the process of getting ready for a competition, then great. If it breaks you, it makes you miserable, don't do them. You know, it's no one competition can make or break a career. They can certainly help if you win, but you know, it's almost more about who you keep in touch with after. So yeah, don't wait for the competition to do it for you.
And I think that these people are gatekeepers, and it's fine. And if you win, then great, and it can be an excellent opportunity. But you can't let them drive your life. You have to go and take responsibility for your own career and move it forward, however you can.
Yes. So number 5, our 5th point is, if it's worth doing, it's worth recording. If it's worth recording, it's worth having a video for it. So recording with video. We believe that it's really important to have video for as much as you can. I think we live in a visual age. Obviously, people love seeing you, not just hearing you. So, you know, even if it's not the perfect lighting and makeup and, you know, don't need a Fellini to make a good enough video that will really speak to a lot of people. The 6th point is very interesting. I think try producing a concert. I think that we've done that, and we learned that it's hard. It's hard because you have to think very hard about what people want to hear and what will make people come. And it puts us in the shoes of the presenters. The presenters who invite us to play are taking a risk. They want to have a full house. They want to sell the tickets. They don't want to lose money on you know, renting a hall. So when you do it yourself, I believe that only then you can really appreciate what a presenter is going through. And how difficult it is to be a presenter. Yeah. So just another issue about presenting yourself is not waiting for the phone to ring, which is, you know, what I did many years. I waited for the phone to ring, and it's better to be proactive. Number 7, get a manager if you can, and get a publicist if you can afford one, and also get good at social media, doing social media yourself. So a manager helps, a publicist helps. None of them are going to make you a career, but they're going to help. So a career happens with a lot of different things coming in. It's not just one thing. So everything helps when you choose it. If you can choose a manager, just be careful. If you don't have money and you have to pay a retainer, you know, that's obviously something you have to think about carefully. Better to have a manager who's just going to take percentage of the work that he's or she's giving you. But in any case, I learned a lot from my first managers, and I think it was an interesting and important step in my career.
Yeah, I think the theme from the last few, all of these things are investments. Maybe they're taking a percentage, maybe it costs some money to produce a concert, and not to minimize that cost, but these are all just like any other business, you have to invest in the business in order to make it successful.
Yeah. So, well, number 8 is keep learning. Get good at public speaking. You know, we are expected to communicate not via music alone, but also with talking. I would even expand on this, saying that we have to be thinkers. Like if you put together a program, you have to not just think, okay, it's going to be an appetizer, a main course, and dessert. So like a Bach, a Brahms sonata, and some showpiece. You have to think bigger. What is maybe a theme that you want to show? Maybe the concert is around, say, St. Patrick's Day. So maybe you stick in an Irish piece there. Maybe it's New Year's and you want to do some, I don't know, a Christmas arrangement that you've done. I'm just making up as I go. But one of the recitals that I always speak about that I heard years ago, Carter Bray played a program that was focused on the year 1948, where three wonderful, great sonatas were all written in the same year: Prokofiev, Poulenc, and Carter, Elliott Carter. So I thought that was really, really brilliant programming. So think about those things. The public speaking, you know, a lot of people, music is not their first language, so they will feel much more comfortable hearing you actually speak. And then they could appreciate your humanity perhaps before you even put a bow to the string. So.
And I think perhaps some of the audience here who's seen your other work on your musings, etc. A lot of things that Inbal talks about are things that she learned again on her own, not from her teachers, not from conservatory, but really just because of her own curiosity. And it's easy to think that when school's done, you're done, but the constant curiosity and learning is what successful people just keep on doing their whole lives.
So we have our first question from Mark. What role did collaboration with other artists play in your streaming success? That's a good question. The truth is that I have kept my collaborations to a minimum because it was quite complicated to begin with. So for my musings where I teach, I had a pianist, I had Alon Goldstein come and play with me. I also put out videos of me playing with other performers. So that was incredibly rewarding. Yeah, I can't think of other collaborations. I mean, yeah.
I mean, certainly with composers, and that's you know, I'm not sure whether that was where it was going, but that's been obviously important.
Yeah, definitely. I collaborate a lot with orchestras, with composers, and a lot of times the videos are on that I put out there are with them. So that's always amazingly inspiring to work with other people. Obviously, we don't work in a bubble. Question from Katie. How did you engage with your audience to encourage more viewership listeners of your work? That's a great question. I usually, at least in the very first few years that I did my musings, I used to try and answer all the questions that I was getting. After a while, it was getting to be a little overwhelming, so I got a little lax. I also asked my viewers to suggest topics or pieces to do my musings on. The problem is that everybody suggested something else. So I also needed to practice a lot and prepare those pieces so that they can be good enough for you guys. So so I had a rule: if I get 5 requests for one piece, I'll do the piece. So for now, I pretty much covered the core rep that I'm comfortable playing and performing with all the time. I'm going to do Debussy's Sonata hopefully this spring. So the rhythm has slowed down slightly because I've been performing and busy.
Yeah. And the only thing I'd add to that is personally, I believe that it's an ecosystem. So I believe that the musings are a lot about teaching a lot about core rep, but I do believe that that increases the viewership and engagement of things that you're recording and performing. And all these things build upon each other as you build the foundation. So sometimes it may not be obvious how one thing leads to the next thing, but in some ways you have to have faith that a teaching video will help your performing career, will help your recording career, and then again and again.
Yeah, every time I play with an American, especially American orchestras, but not only, I meet quite a few people who say their student or themselves watched my videos, my musings. So it's always really great to hear that feedback that people learn from them. Yeah.
And I believe the heads of the orchestra noticed that also.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if they didn't see the videos themselves, they're not looking for instructional videos for cello.
Right, exactly. So question from Lee, were there any unexpected challenges you faced along the way, and how did you overcome them? Many. Oh boy. Well, Honey, would you like to elaborate on this?
Well, the twins were unexpected.
Yeah, we have 3 teenagers now, but we 17 years ago, or 18 years ago, we had twins. So we have an older son and twins. So it was a lot. You know, I played the Dvorak Concerto 4 months after I gave birth to our twins, and you know, the conductor said, "I don't know how you're doing this," and I said, "I think you do." Anyway, we were laughing, and you know, it's just yeah, it was many years that were very difficult, and now things are sort of settling because our kids are teenagers.
But I think largely a lot of things we talk about is you just have to put one foot in front of the other. There's all sorts of challenges. It's not easy to be a professional musician, and you have to keep going.
Yeah. In the end, it's not about the money. The money is not. It cannot be. You know, you have to sort of make truth with that, like make peace with that, not truth. It's not about the fame, because the fame can come and can go, can be there or not. It's about how much you love music and how much you love the process of, you know, delving into those great masterpieces or learning new ones and commissioning and working with live composers. It really is. It's a cliche, but it's true. It's the way that's gonna make you stick with it. Okay, a question from John. What advice would you give to emerging artists looking to increase their media presence? Well, I think that producing videos, even if it's not produced in the highest way, just with an iPhone in your home with good lighting, is really getting material out there that's the best quality you can make, finding what you're good at, finding what makes you happy, and how you think you can contribute to our field. Okay, question from Mark. How did you optimize your Spotify, Apple Music artist profile for maximum visibility? That's a great question. So coming back to my manager and publicist. So here is, it's like a chicken and an egg. You can't get famous without a publicist and manager, but they're not going to take you unless you're famous. So, you know, that's why you're building it slowly, little by little. You first get a smaller manager, perhaps. Perhaps it's your cousin who's going to manage you. I don't know. First, you work the funds yourself. First, you do your own YouTube and social media. Luckily, social media is free, really. So that's incredible. So you can put out there anything. But if you want to create a following, you've got to be sure you're putting out, you know, stuff that's quality.
And specifically to the Spotify, do you have a sense for that, or did your publicist do it all for you?
Maybe you can answer this.
Okay, it sounds like we don't know how that was done, so that was to get somebody. I do think that generally it's important to, while it's important to have the best team that you can have. It may not be the same team you have forever, but it also, in addition to the team, it also helps to educate yourself on all these things. So I think that while that specifically may not be an area of expertise, Inbal's gotten very good at understanding what looks good on social media in terms of presenting videos, having thumbnails that catch attention, the right format in terms of just length, aspect ratios, things of that sort of thing. So it's hard to be an expert at everything, but whenever you learn something new, go and get it out there.
Yeah, yeah. Also important when we, I basically struck gold with one of the concertos. So Tom, my husband, and I were commissioning concertos for over 10 years. In particular, one really caught. It was the Anna Klein cello concerto titled Dance, which gotten over 10 million Spotify hits for just the first movement. So it happened through a few things. But something that really helped was that early on it caught the attention. It was one of NPR's 25 best tracks of 2020, I believe. Yeah, something like that. And then it was put on a few listening lists by Spotify, like easy listening or calming cello, stuff like that, those cheesy, but so it reaches a lot of people. So it was put on 7 different lists like this, and I think that was really brought this to more people, although it was already getting an enormous viewership, listenerships. So it's a great track. What can I say? Anna wrote a beautiful concerto. I performed it with the London Philharmonic and Marin Alsop, both extremely well-known, orchestra and conductor. And it's a great collaboration.
Yeah, and I think there are publicists who, and I think Inbal's publicists, they keep up relationships with people who curate these playlists on Spotify. That's not the only way that things get on there, of course, but that's helpful. So I think that when you add all of these things together, that the success of that particular track was really the culmination of all these other factors that we've been talking about so far. And it was no one thing. It's just really all of those pieces. And if any one of those pieces were missing, maybe it wouldn't have been so successful.
And let's not forget AV Records, my record label, which helped bring it, to so many different platforms. I mean, physical CD was there, but most importantly, digital presence in different. And I forget how they do it.
And a record, and they have great relationships, and they're well respected in the industry. And those little things, people are going to make sure they give it a play. And it'll get a little bit more attention.
Yeah, in order to have the right people listening, giving you the 5 minutes or whatever that they're going to give, it helps to have a record label that's well thought of. Yeah. All right. So, question for Mary. That we did that. Can you share any insights on the importance of album artwork and titles in attracting streams? I think it's important. Again, it's not the most important. I have my own photo there, so that helps, I think, too. If you want to promote yourself as the soloist, or when I recorded with Music at Menlo, we had an artwork. There was none of our faces, none of the musicians' faces, because it's the organization that is really known and has such a wonderful following, and everybody knows the quality of their recordings. So I have an upcoming CD in March under Nonsuch with Timo Andres, who's a fantastic young composer, and I played his cello concerto, and he chose a very artistic photo to be on the cover, which reflects who he is, because the album is his works. Yeah. I think something catchy is good, yeah. We had, through AV Records, we had people who designed the CD. I mean, a picture can tell 1,000, is more important than 1,000 words, right? You want the cover to look professional, for sure. Question from Lauren, what role did playlists, oh, okay, so we answered that, both official and user-generated, play in your streaming numbers. So the user-generated, I think on YouTube, I have quite a few of those, like a lot of people edit my musings and some of my music videos on their YouTube user-generated list, which is awesome. I don't know how that happened, to be honest. There was just, they liked it, so that's great. That was like organic growth, which I'm very thankful for. Question from Drew. How do you decide to release a new album, and what drives your judgment regarding repertoire? How often do you release new music? And does the frequency impact your streaming numbers? Those are all really, really good questions. I've been told that every 2 years I should kind of come out with a CD. I think it's probably true. People's memories are short. During the pandemic, I did more than that. We did 20, I did this project 20 for 2020, and I basically had 4 CDs in 2 years. But they were shorter CDs. So that was a ton of work, very well worth it. But I find that this kind of rhythm of at least once every 2 years is good, is important.
One of the things that publicists will say is that they need a release or something, some sort of event in order to generate press. That's just the reality of the situation. So I would definitely echo what Inbal said, that it's important to do it on some sort of a regular basis, again, with the best quality that you can have. And whatever the best quality is for you right now is good enough.
Exactly. And in terms of how do I decide and what repertoire, as we said before, like if it's worth, for me, since I commission, if it's worth playing, it's worth recording. If it's worth recording, it's worth having video for. And so if I'm going to commission a piece, I'm already thinking I'm going to record it. So basically, I don't commission works that I don't think are worth recording. Yeah. Okay, question from Wendy. Were there any specific analytic features or tools that you found particularly helpful? Did you focus on specific regions or demographics to target for your promotion? Another excellent question. Maybe you can help me.
Yeah, those are good questions. Well, to be honest, I don't think that we have found anything specific regarding targeting. It's good questions, and maybe it's something that we should spend more time and effort on. One of the things that I do feel that boosting videos is a good bang for the buck. It costs so much to make any sort of a recording, in terms of whether it's from your practice time to the cost of hiring a videographer, et cetera, et cetera. So the cost of adding that little boost is going to be a very good return on investment in terms of increasing the viewership from what it otherwise would be. I think sometimes there can be a thought that, well, I put so much work into performing this piece. It's such a great recording. It's such a great piece of music. I shouldn't have to pay to advertise it. And I think that that's a little bit short-sighted, because even the best products out there are advertised, and you can think of other things in your everyday life.
Even the iPhone is advertised. I was going to say something, I forgot. Anyway. Oh yeah, the one thing that's interesting is that we did find early on that my musings were watched in Latin America a lot for some reason. And sure enough, I was invited to teach and perform in Mexico this year, although I had zero contacts in Mexico. So that's just was really, really happy. I don't know if it's coincidence, but it was, I think it was because of my social media presence. So I'm excited about that. Question from Peter. How did you connect your live concerts and recitals with your online presence? As in, how did you convert your in-person audience to listen to your albums and or vice versa? That's also a great question. The truth is that we don't know. The truth is that as Tom tells me, you studied advertising in university a little bit.
Marketing.
Marketing. And you always tell me we don't know what works, right?
Well, they say half of all advertising works. The problem is you don't know which half.
Yeah, this is a great saying. So we don't know which half works, but it works. Something works.
I would say that something that's changed is that orchestras and presenters are also trying to connect their online and offline audience, and that can help. So it's a plus and a minus, but for almost every engagement that Inbal has, they're asking for her to make a short recording for them to post to their audience, which in some ways is time consuming when you're preparing to perform concertos and doing whatever else you have. But the reality is that it's additional content. You can link it to your own profile. And I think, again, it creates this ecosystem. So a little bit of it is faith, but then there are some specific things that I do think knit those pieces together.
Yeah, I find that sometimes it's a little, if they put out a video and there's like 50 views, you can be bummed out. But those 50 here and there and there and there, they add up. So,
And you can also re-release them. One of the things that we talked about is that in the world of social media, once something's a year old, arguably it's just a year old, a month old, a week old. We all know what these cycles are. So definitely re-release, bring things out there, maybe add an introduction that adds some new twist.
Yeah, on a slightly separate note, so 2 years ago when I was recording and doing video for my project 20 for 2020, I did a lot of short videos for those short works that I commissioned. And one of them was called Lacrimae, Tears. I was very sad and I didn't release it because I was looking for, I guess I didn't know what to release it with or for. There needed to be the right thing. And I thought to put it out for 9/11, but then it just didn't feel right. And then horribly, October 7 came, and it was a devastating time. And I thought to release that track, and it helped people. It helped people mourn. It helped me personally. So sometimes you have to sit on stuff until it's the right time for you personally or for the world to hear it. I feel, or re-release, as you said. Sometimes people are ready to hear a certain thing at a different time than you thought they will be. Okay. Question from Rachel. What does it mean that you commission a concerto? Who pays the composer? Do you get the orchestra engagement alongside the commission? Okay, excellent.
Well, I think the most important thing is that we did not know this either when we first did our own commission. I think that we heard stories and just Rostropovich was wonderful. Shostakovich wrote things for him, or Prokofiev did, and just great cellists just have great works thrown at them. So that is not the way that it works. Should I keep going? The composer is paid by a combination of people. It can be paid by the orchestra, or a consortium of orchestras. It can be paid by a grant-making organization like New Music USA, and it can be also paid for by the soloist or various compositions of that. That's how that happens. But composers need to earn a living like any other musician, and so that's how that works. In terms of the orchestra engagement alongside the commission, the first concerto we ever commissioned, we did not get an orchestra on board at the same time, and it has still never been performed with an orchestra. So we
learned.
We stopped doing that. We don't do that anymore. So now, irrespective of what the financial terms are, we will only pursue a commission in concert with an orchestra or multiple orchestras, and that's part of what it's a lot of work. You have to get a lot of people on board in order to do that. We're saying when you do a commission, you've got an orchestra, you've got a music director, you've got a composer, you've got the potentially composer's manager, you've got the composer's publisher. That's not necessarily the same people. You've got the artist. So anyway, so there's a lot of people, and it's a complicated process, but it does happen. And when you can put it together, you're able to it shows, it sticks out because it's so hard to get done. If it was easy, everyone would do it and it wouldn't be worth anything.
So true, so true. Question from Andy. Were there any specific genres or niches within your music that gained more traction? Do you find that for you, new music commissions draw more of an audience than a Dvorak or Haydn concerto that has been recorded by hundreds of cellists? The short answer is yes. There's some fantastic recordings out there of Dvorak and Haydn. I like to think that I'm moving the genre forward by commissioning new works. That said, my most known recording till today was really built on the juxtaposition of the old and the new, which I love. So the Anna Klein Dance concerto was written for me. I recorded with the Elgar concerto, which is basically in my DNA. I worked on it all my life, and I really wanted to show something that I can do also the classics, and I really enjoy playing Elgar, and I performed it regularly. So I recorded the Bach cello suites, and that has really taken off too. So I think that one feeds the other. My performances of the classics gain from learning new repertoire because I sort of have an insight of how composers think, and obviously playing new music can greatly benefit if you play the classics.
And I think I think you've recorded all sorts of different niches, genres. The most recent release had Trinidadian elements to it. Tangalai Concerto had Appalachian elements to it. You've commissioned from Israeli composers. Tim Andres's pieces about Versailles, which is French. You can just keep on going. So. Just go wherever your curiosity takes you. You don't know beforehand exactly what's going to stick.
Yes, I agree. I think the audience today is open to everything. So you can really hone in on what you're good at and what really gets you going. Hi, Frank Bell. Frank says, hi, Cello family. Just now tuning, just want to say some gratitude. Thank you. Great to hear from you. So let's see. And now I think we're getting a message. I think we will move on to in the practice room blog questions. And yeah, feel free to ask me anything. Thank you so much.
Sure.
my
I think
husband.
the first thing that she does is kick me out of the room so she can start practicing. So that's my cue.
Thanks, Hannah. Bye. Okay, so what do you enjoy most about practicing? What inspires you? Is it a classical? Is it a classical, or are there inspirations outside of this genre? I usually practice. I love practicing. I'm a practical person. I don't like practicing for nothing. Let me tell you, I've practiced for the last 45 years, and I am not gonna waste my time on stuff now. I've been composing too, so that takes a lot of my time. But when I practice, I usually after a scale, I go straight to the stuff I have to prepare for my next concert or my next concerts. I really enjoy just feeling the instrument and hearing the sound, and it's like brushing your teeth. You feel grounded after you play. Good sound, good posture, feeling your fingers. You know, now I haven't practiced for a couple of weeks. We were taking a vacation, so it's really, today I really got back to the cello. My New Year's resolution is to practice at least 2 hours every day. I know it's not a lot, but when you don't have a concert right tomorrow, it's hard to motivate sometimes. So yeah, the scale is the very first thing I do on the cello every day. On my music stand is the Bach cello suites because I'm teaching them, and I don't practice them every day, but I do teach them, so I like to have them handy. And I have Shostakovich cello concerto because I'm trying to write a cello concerto myself, so I'm kind of seeing, you know, getting ideas and seeing how he went about it. And then I have also on my iPad 2 other concertos, one by Victoria Poleva, which I'm going to premiere in the European premiere in a month. So I'm working on that. And another concerto for next year, which I'm playing with Leonard Slatkin, super excited. Yeah, by Mark Adamo. Okay, so in your mind, what is it that makes an effective practice session? Mindfulness. You can't check out. I used to be like, oh God, I'm bored. I don't feel like practicing. Let me put the YouTube on and I'll just practice with that. It doesn't work very well for me. Sometimes it works to a certain degree if you work on open strings, but even then, you sort of, I like to hear the sound and focus on what needs to be done. So mindfulness, and sometimes also have a plan, like even the evening before, I'm like, okay, what am I doing tomorrow? Or what am I practicing? Okay, let me dedicate the next hour to this movement, which is really difficult. I'll start from the end of the movement. Sometimes I start from the end of the movement. So because the beginning is, you always start from the beginning. So that's what I did today, for example. I start from the end of the Mark Adamo concerto and work my way backwards. Let's see. Is there a particular practice method that you swear by that has remained of constant value for you over the years? A go-to strategy? Yes, I think I really work a lot with my tuner to clean slowly stuff. So I think going between cleaning slowly and then playing in concert tempo, mixing both those things. You can do one or the other, only one or the other. That works really well for me. How do I manage a lot of rep at the same time? I think you have to rotate through the repertoire. If something is particularly difficult, I would usually start with that, like dedicate my freshest hours. For me, the green hours, what we say, is usually between 10 and noon. So, after my coffees kick in, after my short scale and warm up, if something is coming up soon, a concert, and something is very difficult, I would start with that and really try to, work hard on that. Then the next day I might go to something else to let it sink, and I come back to it the following day after that. How do you start learning a new piece, especially with work that has not been performed before? That takes a long time for me to learn a language of a composer I've never played before. A new concerto with a Victoria Poleva, which Ukrainian composer that I premiered her work with the Dallas Symphony this year, and last year, sorry, and this year I'm premiering it with the London Philharmonic. It took me some months, and I tried to every day sort of run the piece. The piece is quite simple cellistically, but I had to get it into my brain and my body. And in order to do that, I think every day I did something from the piece. I would listen to the MP3 of the piece and just play with that, also helpful. Yeah. Well, oh, you guys have great questions, so I'm hardly keeping up. Let's see. Question from David John. Hello, Maestro Segev. Thank you. Do you have any recommendations of cello method study books? Love your work. Thank you so much. Depends where you are cellistically. Popper High School is good, but it's hard. I find that some of the etudes are really hard. So I like to go to Duport for people who are not there yet, or that are struggling. If you're struggling with some of the Popper etudes, Duport is a great book. You know, I do some Fayard. In the last pages, there's variations on cello bowings, and I find they're very helpful. So yeah, let's see. With such a big workload, how do you avoid burnout and maintain balance? That's also a great question. Full disclosure, I was quite burned out. The last 2 seasons, I worked so hard that I was really burned out. This summer I was just vegging, and even this fall season was quite intense, especially in November. So I didn't practice much, as I said, for the last 2 weeks. Actually, it was more like a month. Don't tell anybody. But I played a little bit here and there, but it wasn't full-on practice. And now I'm ready to go back to the cello. There is burnout sometimes. I mean, I've been doing it my whole life. So for that reason, I need new challenges and projects, whether it's premiering new works, working with other people whose energy bring me joy and inspiration. Yeah, so anyway, we're getting to the end of the chat. I've been speaking a lot. Yeah, to all of you.
We have some other questions. Like, what are some habits, what are some habits, mental or physical, that you cultivate in the practice room that makes you a more confident performer?
Well, I think taking care of our physical body is so important. We are athletes of the upper body, right? In 2019, I used to go to the gym and do really hardcore workouts, and I used heavy weights, and I got tendinitis. It was, maybe I was practicing too much, I don't know. But since then, I'm very mindful. I eat turmeric every day. That's anti-inflammatory, so I add it to my shakes. I buy the actual turmeric root. And what else do? I used to do yoga, but I don't have the patience for this so much. I do exercise, but I do very light weights. But I like playing after I exercise because I feel like it gets my blood going first, and then I'm not going to the cello like when my body's not at optimal state, if you will. Yeah, if I feel I'm tired, I would usually stop and not practice if I have that option. Honestly, I think that tightness in my shoulders has really abated recently because I'm not tight, thank God, knock on wood. But I think for me, it was more psychological. I used to get, you know, before big concerts, I would get tight. So I learned how to do yoga then and work on my sound and just to kind of keep that in check. There's always going to be some tension. Life is not without tension. So just have to listen to your body and know when you're tight. Either take it easy, take more breaks, do yoga, warm shower, whatever it takes. I think my practicing evolved over the years. Things are definitely easier than when I was a teenager. Things were difficult. Not struggling, but it took hours to get things. And now it's in my DNA. It gets easier. So that's the good news for all you guys. Things get easier, but you still have to keep at it. Like, you can't assume you don't have to practice. That's definitely a couple hours a day minimum, even if you think you already learned, physically what's there to learn. I think that, I don't know that anything surprised me. I think that when I'm excited for projects, that's the inspiration for playing. If I'm not excited, it's hard to get me going. The closing remarks, I think that I'm really thankful for our community. I think that each one of you should be super proud of themselves for having music in our lives. I think it makes everybody's lives richer and better, and go practice. Thank you.